Joining us now is Kylene Wright with the Texans for Life Coalition. Lisa Turner is from the Lone Star Project, a Washington, D.C. based research think tank. They are joining us with their reactions. And Kylene, you were surprised by the sweeping ruling by the justices, but more surprised by the opinion itself and some of the strong language that was used. In particular, what struck you?
Some of the comments by Justice Bader Ginsburg and Justice Breyer, and also because the Whole Women's had chosen not to appeal the hospital admitting privileges from the Fifth Circuit. I was surprised that the court dismissed claims of res judicata. Just surprised that the complete dismissal of hospital admitting privileges as standard of care, and almost Justice Breyer seemed to consider them worthless when it's something used by the medical profession in so many other areas. This peer review process is what it essentially is.
Let's boil this down in language that people will understand. This law in Texas put in place two particular things: that an abortion clinic had to have local admitting privileges to a nearby hospital.
Doctors, yes.
The doctors who performed abortions
Correct.
At local hospitals in the event there were a complication during an abortion.
That is correct. There was a very important medical study that showed that 80% of some of the most severe complications happen in handoff and transfer. So it's very important, and it's also prevents patient abandonment.
And clinics had to meet certain medical standards as well.
Surgical
These clinics
centers
then came ahead and claimed that it was providing a burden on them that would make it impossible for them to stay in business. Were you in agreement with any of that, that certain standards of practices needed to change in terms of admitting privileges? It seems like common sense. You don't want a woman under any kind of anesthesia having a complication but not having access to the kind of care that would save her life.
Well, I think this case, quite frankly, all the doctors that testified, the American College of OBGYNs, said that in fact these were not necessary. I mean, you don't need to regulate the number of parking spaces at a woman's health clinic. It does not go to safety. And I think Justice Breyer even said that Texas provided no medical evidence whatsoever in its case that this was to protect the health and safety of women. And in fact, it was what we knew it was all along, just providing undue burdens. The state put forth undue burdens on women in their access.
That made it difficult to be able to exercise the constitutional right to have an abortion. So having said this now, the Supreme Court has ruled on it, so other states will be limited in the kinds of laws they're able to pass. What does that mean for your fight moving forward in terms of trying to put any kinds of standards of practice into place?
Well, what we will be working on and what you will see come out of the legislature in the next session next year will be better reporting so that we have the data to support the things that we're trying to do to protect women. That will be first and foremost, and that's going to change the nature of this.
So you're admitting the crux of this was a lack of evidence to show.
We had a lack of data, and we understand that, and that will be rectified.
So one final question related to that. This is a Supreme Court that's evenly split. 8 justices in the absence of Antonin Scalia, 4 liberals, 4 conservatives, and yet Anthony Kennedy was the swing vote here, being a conservative. That means even if a Republican president puts another conservative in place, it's possible these kinds of rulings will continue. You think that will change with more evidence that clinics need better standards?
I do. I think that, you know, that whatever their partisan or their different biases are, that they're reasonable people, and I know that all of us want to see women protected.
So it's not over?
I would hope that it's over. I think the court was very, very clear that women's reproductive rights are constitutional and here to stay. I would hope Republicans in the legislature would focus on the real issues, crumbling schools, foster care in crisis. That's where we need to focus.
Well, in any case, Texas, once again, the center of a very heated debate on a very important social issue. Thank you both for being here today. We appreciate it. Let's check in with Greg now and another check of the weather. Greg.
All right, thank you very much there.